The Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem yesterday. At Yad Vashem, the Pope did not mention the Nazis, 6 million Jews, the word murdered, or his personal pain or apology. Shalom to Dr. Rozett, Director of Libraries at Yad Vashem.
Good afternoon.
So the Pope was at your institute yesterday. How did Yad Vashem react to his speech?
Well, the first thing we should remember about the Pope being here was the old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. The Pope was in the Hall of Remembrance, flanked by the President of the State of Israel, the Speaker of the Knesset, the former Chief Rabbi of Israel, Rav Lau, who is now the head of Yad Vashem's World Council, and the Chairman of Yad Vashem's Director of Ner Shalev. That being just there is already saying a lot. In addition to that, he gave a speech in which he said several things that are very important. He spoke about the need to remember the Holocaust. He spoke about the need to inscribe the names of the victims on the hearts of all men of goodwill. And he spoke against Holocaust denial very clearly. So those were all important messages that he said. We also, listening to him, would have liked him to have said a few other things, to address a few other issues that he did not address. It would have been very meaningful if at Yad Vashem the Pope had addressed anti-Semitism. He had done that earlier in the day, but addressing it at Yad Vashem would have given it that much more of a punch. There are other things that perhaps he might have mentioned about his own personal experience in World War II, and he really said nothing about that as well. He did speak about theology, and certainly that says something to the fact that the Holocaust shakes the roots of theology for all believing men, and that in itself is also an important thing he was talking about.
What could you tell us about the role of this Pope during the Holocaust?
Pope Benedict was a youth during the Nazi period. When he was 14, he joined the Hitler Youth, as 14-year-olds normally did in Germany at that period. He was drafted when he was around 16 or 17 into the Wehrmacht, where he served in an anti-aircraft unit, and then later he served on the Austrian-Hungarian border where they were building fortifications. In the last month of the war, apparently he deserted from the army.
Were there other issues that Rabbi Lau wanted the Pope to address?
Well, again, the Vatican decides on its own what issues it's going to talk about wherever it goes. It's not really our role to tell them what to say or not to say. Rav Lau is a survivor of the Holocaust, and so there are some issues that are very important to him personally that I suppose he would have liked to have heard, and he's expressed himself in the media about them.
Why do you feel it was important that the Pope should have spoken more about anti-Semitism?
Well, of course, we know for quite a while now we've been in a period of heightened anti-Semitism, and it's important that messages come out from all leaders, especially somebody with the moral authority of a Pope, speaking against anti-Semitism. So this is very important. But again, he did speak against it, just not at Yad Vashem. I think the other thing that we would like to say about the visit is that we have had a very constructive dialogue with the Vatican about historical issues related to the Vatican and the Pope and the Church's activities in World War II, and there's no reason why after this visit we won't continue with that dialogue.
Now we're hearing that Rabbi Lau was disappointed that the Pope did not mention the words Holocaust or 6 million. Do you feel that this was a significant omission? During
the Pope's speech, he talked about millions of Jews who were killed. He didn't talk about 6 million Jews who were murdered. And of course, for our sensitivities, there's a great difference between the two. In terms of talking about perpetrators and Germans, also he didn't mention them outright. And there is certainly room for mentioning them outright in the kind of situation he was in at Yad Vashem. That he didn't do it, again, is a question for the Vatican, his own people, why he chose to speak as he spoke.
You know, some politicians in the past have expressed that Yad Vashem should not be part of an obligatory visit by visiting dignitaries. What is your response?
Well, officially, Yad Vashem's not part of an obligatory visit, but it is that everybody who comes in serious believes they need to come to Yad Vashem, and they do. It's become the way people visit, and certainly the Holocaust is very relevant. One cannot only understand Israel and the Jewish people through the Holocaust, but one cannot understand Israel and the Jewish people without the Holocaust.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us.